with Kick.
Oh boy.
Kick released this week some information regarding the Kick Creator Incentive Program. Can I add some introductory context on this? Some streamers from Kick, the biggest streamers on Kick, had actually talked about this before. They discussed there was a plan in motion about maybe 2 months ago, from what I remember, to have streamers on the platform who fit a certain criteria be paid an hourly wage when they stream. So the idea is you're paid, I think they were saying like $16 an hour at the time, like $15 to $16 an hour just for streaming on the platform, which is, it's more income. I'm not saying anything against the $15 per hour. Like, it's another revenue stream. So sounds
I assume
great.
that goes on top of whatever, like ad revenue and
Correct.
subs and like all
Correct.
the extra stuff. So that's just like,
it's just more
extra
money in your pocket. So like, yeah, sounds great. People got excited. Obviously, smaller Kick streamers are excited because they're like, hey, maybe there's a path for me doing this full time. I wasn't going to be the one to give anybody the rude awakening and say small streamers ain't going to get this. If you're not in the top 0.5%, you ain't getting this.
They're not going to pay you $15 an hour to stream to 10 people. Like,
even before this came out, I knew, I was like, hey, if you're not in that top 1%, 0.5%, you're not getting this. I get the excitement and it's something to grind to. I get it. But let's hit back on reality. The reality is, I imagine there's a really small subset of people that are going to get this, like really small. It's like the Twitch Partner Plus program. That's for a really small subset of people that are the really big streamers, so they can keep making them happy.
Yep.
This is going to be the same thing for me. Let's just jump straight to the requirements, because the program itself is as I described. You are going to be given some type of hourly wage. I think they mentioned it might have been, I saw some places where it was like 15 to 16 bucks an hour. So what are the benefits of the Kick Creator Incentive Program? Kick introduces a refreshing change. Not only do you get your 95% subscriber split, 95.5, but you're also compensated for dedication, effort you invest in curating, producing, expanding content. Simply put, Kick values and rewards both your creative prowess and your entrepreneurial spirit. By joining the program at the early stage, you're positioning yourself at the forefront of an initiative where the hourly compensation is merely the beginning. I tried to highlight it to help, but it really doesn't help at all.
No, it doesn't.
It didn't help at all. I had high hopes for that. So let's just pause for the rest of this, because the rest of this is just mumbo jumbo PR, like, hey, it's exciting. So you're going to get paid an hourly rate, among other things. That's like the first thing they mentioned, hourly rate. How do you get that? 30-day average concurrent viewers, 126 for 30 days. That's pretty high. Pretty high.
Not absurdly high, but
it's not absurdly high. But it's pretty high. Average subscriptions per month, 239.
That's a lot of.
I don't know where 239 comes from.
It's pretty random, but I'm sure they have some analytics behind.
There's
the scenes,
some analytics,
and they decided not to round up to like 250 or round down to like 230 or just whatever. Weird. Right? They just went with whatever the number.
You'll notice they highlighted gifted or direct. This is a straight up
slight at Twitch saying if you gift subs, it doesn't count. That's just straight up, specifically a wording for Twitch. It's to get the people that are fringe Twitch streamers. That's for them. It's not for anybody else. It's for the Twitch streamers who go, hey, remember when Twitch said gifted didn't count? We're counting it.
Yep.
Unique chatters per month, 337. Actually, if you're getting a 126 concurrent viewer number, 336 is easy. Stream hours per month, 89, which is not terribly high.
That's not that much.
Not that much. So
yeah, that's not bad at all, really. I mean, if you think about like 40-hour work week, that's just like, I mean, and as a streamer, I think it's hard to do like a 40-hour work week. Some people do more than that, but
I'd imagine
that's only like two. But if you do, 20, I guess, what is this, like 22-ish hours a week?
Yeah, it's like
something a little
22.
more than that, but yeah.
That makes sense to me. If you're a full-time streamer, you're probably doing 20 to 30 because the last
Can
set of
stream
hours
like stream like 4 to 6 hours a day on the weekdays, and then
Right.
have 2 days off if you want it, but you don't have to, right?
because they're not just streaming 40 hours a week. You're doing all your content. If you're a serious content creator, you're streaming for a portion of it. You're doing the other bits of content. You're making deals. You're doing all your other stuff
and
for the
you're
last
doing,
like 10 to
you're doing
15
video editing
You're
for
doing
YouTube
video editing.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
You might have one, but you still have to work with an editor. It's not just like streaming. So I think let's just throw that misconception out the window. Like, full-time streamers aren't just full-time streaming 40 hours a week at times. They're doing other shit on the side. So I actually have seen some various comments where people were like, "See, look at how unrealistic this is." While I do think this is like pretty challenging to achieve for 126 concurrent viewers, this actually didn't seem as unreasonable to me when I first looked at it. Average subscriptions per month, if you're getting a 126 concurrent viewers, I actually think 240, I'm just going to round it up 240, I think that's pretty achievable for gifted and direct. So that seems pretty reasonable to me. That doesn't seem like completely out there like 500 would be. Unique chatters doesn't seem unreasonable. Hours, a lot of this didn't seem unreasonable to me when I read it at first.
Yeah, it's not like obviously it's not easy to achieve these numbers, and as you said, you're going to be in the top couple of percent at the most, if not top 1%,
like top 1.
type thing. But the numbers aren't that unreasonable to me. Like, again, they're not going to pay every streamer on their platform $15 an hour. It's just like, that is not, if you are not bringing enough value to them for, like, for basically ads and however else they make money, they're not gonna pay you.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
They're not going to pay you an hourly wage if they don't think you can bring enough value. And somebody ran the numbers on that. So I do think, again, this is excluded to the 1 to 2%. I'm still not really wrong about my first impression there, but the requirements didn't seem as unreasonable to me as I thought they were. I thought this was going to be like pretty much twice as much in every category, if I'm being completely honest. So the fact that it's 126, that puts you in like, it puts you on like you just got partner on Twitch kind of range.
Yeah.
Average subscriptions 240. Gifted or direct means that's pretty achievable to me. Unique chatters and stream hours, that's like whatever to me. The concurrent viewer number, though, I think is like, if you're like just got partner kind of level, you can definitely achieve this. So definitely not super unreasonable. And I think it's gonna, I imagine they're gonna do this in like phases. I think they mentioned they're gonna do this in phases. We are in the development phase with our first class of 33 creators.
Yeah.
So they have like a broad group in that. I think this is like as much as I crack on Kick and frankly would never go to Kick as a platform, just reading it, like if I'm a Kick streamer and I'm like grinding and I'm like feeling pretty good and getting close to about 100 concurrent viewers, I feel really happy about this and feel like that it's achievable. So I don't know, to me this ultimately looked like a good thing for them. And it seems achievable for folks. So I guess I'll give them that. It's still, it's still Kick though, so.
I mean, yeah, it's still Kick, and you have to be okay with like what that platform is and who supports that platform. But yeah, I mean, as you said, like obviously these numbers are like, they're not small. It's not easy to achieve this if
right.
you're an up and coming streamer, but they're not entirely unreasonable either.
Yep.
They're,
That's what, yeah. That's
so
what
yeah,
I came with.
I think this is. It's hard to say it's a bad thing. Obviously, you would like to see the numbers be a little lower and be easier for people to achieve, but again, they can't just give it to everybody. Then their business model would not be sustainable, and they would probably have to shut down the site. So
yeah, it's not going to work. So I get it from that perspective, why the numbers are this way. Again, I just thought they'd be higher. I'm like, whoa, I thought these would be higher. That's pretty reasonable. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say. I just brought this up obviously because they released this week, and I mean, Kick's obviously positioning itself as a serious competitor. So
Yep.
there it is. All right, let's continue. NFTs are finally worthless, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked by the news that your NFT, your picture, that is ultimately just a receipt in somebody's database, has no value. Color me surprised. I think that this is just hilarious. So let me just hit the big numbers on you. Upon analysis of 73,000, I'm rounding down. I know the number is not just 73,000 NFT collections. The authors found that almost 70,000 of them have a market cap of 0. In practical terms, that means 95% of NFTs wouldn't fetch a penny. So, wow. That is an absolutely insane metric to read just from the first paragraph. Like the first real paragraph of this article. And the biggest smile went across my face just thinking, of course they're worthless. Anybody who reasonably looked at this in the lens of like logic and just practical understanding of value could have seen this coming. You could have seen it happening. So I just think it's funny.
It was a fad that caught on, pretty quickly. Went, it was a fad for, I don't know what, half a year or so, and then it kind of dropped off. Most people were like, yeah, I don't like this, and I don't want this. I don't want anything to do with this, and then it died.
Yep, it just died because
it's been slowly dying over the past year or so, maybe a little more than that.
It's definitely been just hemorrhaging.
Oh, I guess it was big in late 2021 and early 22 maybe is kind of when it was big. So the last year and a half or so, I would say it's just been slowly dying.
Dying. I'm so glad that it is. This was such a dumb concept to begin with.
Yeah, it was really dumb.
Obviously, it was just ridiculous. I'm glad that it's not worked out. There are some things I'm glad that just aren't working out. This is one of them. I'm glad this didn't work. I would feel really disappointed if this worked out.
It was also just in a lot of cases, it was just a straight up scam.
It was a straight up scam. Yeah, people would just scam people because you can do that with crypto easier than you think. You can just scam people. So I'm glad that this failed. I don't know if there's any obviously some people put a lot of their money into these, and I do have some sympathy for you if you put your life savings in this kind of thing and decided that was the right idea. That being said, I would have probably just advised caution to not put all your eggs in one basket anyway. And just overall the concept of NFTs, I'm glad didn't work. So that's why I had this. It caught my eye when I was scanning through all my socials, and a big old smile went on my face. So I have nothing else to say. I'm glad that these things are hitting the tank.
Yep, same. I was never a believer in this. I was not happy when it was popular, and when I saw that it was kind of universally scorned by the majority of the gaming community and the internet, I was happy about that. And then it started just kind of dying, and then obviously the big companies tried to catch on to it, but they were too late, and some held on longer than others. But
isn't Square trying to still do stuff with NFTs? Did they?
I think they killed that. I don't remember.
God.
I don't know if it actually came out. What was that? What was that?
Symbiosis.
Symbiogenesis.
Yeah, something like that. Symbiogenesis. That sounds more correct than what I said. That sounds way more correct. It was like an NFT kind of game. You collected NFTs, if I remember right. That's what you do in the game.
It has a Twitter.
Is the first tweet, "We messed up, we're done"?
I guess it's still up there.
Wow.
Announcing the launch date for Treasure Hunt 3.0. Mark the dates 28th of September, 9 a.m. Yeah, so I guess they launched the NFT game and it's still going, but
Huh. I'm
let me
surprised.
see. The Twitter account has 41,000 followers, which I guess isn't insignificant, but it's not that big either.
It's not that big
so.
for a game from Square. To me, like a Square game with that number doesn't seem that significant.
But yeah, Square held on the longest, and I guess they're still kind of holding on. But I'm sure that game is hemorrhaging money, and
Yeah,
they'll kill it.
I imagine we'll see a post like, "Member Symbiogenesis, thanks everybody for the love and support, but we've decided to shut it down." And I'll shed a single tear because I hope all those workers find new jobs.
I know this probably isn't next up, but transition. Marvel's Avengers.
You know what?
Speaking of Square games being killed.
We're transitioning to that. We're transitioning to that now. Marvel's Avengers will be delisted forever on September 30th, so grab it now for an amazing adventure featuring your favorite characters like Hulk, Iron Man, Hawkeye, all your favorites. Be sure to get it. It costs $4.
I was just looking on Steam. I'm like, how much does it actually cost to buy this? Yeah, it's 90% off from $40, so it's $4 to buy Marvel's Avengers.
If you really want to play this game for $4, go for it.
if you're ever interested in checking it out but didn't really like it, well, now's the time to check it out. You've got a week to buy it for $4. Otherwise, it's going down.
It's $4. Like I don't know if you ever had any interest in trying it. The campaign is probably like 5 to 6 hours. That's pretty good.
They had some DLC and stuff that they put out.
Lol. Actually, everything's free now, from what I heard. They just made everything free, right? I think I saw some.
I'm sure they killed the cat. Well, I would think they killed the cash shop, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm fairly certain they killed it. Somebody said the single story was well written. I doubt it. I'm gonna actually throw a doubt on that. I don't think anything about this was I would consider well done or well written.
It was pretty.
Okay. You know what? It looked pretty good. We'll give it that. Yeah, $4. $4 on Steam. You know what? I think for a campaign that's probably I would say maybe 6 to 8 hours, I think is what I would guess it is. It's like 6 to 8 hours for a campaign. You know what? For $4, that's great. That sounds really good. If you're at all interested, it's a good deal.
Speaking of Square, by the way, just quickly, we didn't have this article, but I just want to mention this. There have been articles recently talking about how FF16, the headline is usually FF16 doesn't meet expectations or whatever, but apparently you actually read the article, FF16 they spent a lot of money on it obviously, but it made plenty of money. But the gist of the article is that FF16 didn't make enough money for all the other fucking flops that Square Enix they didn't make up for all the flops like Symbiogenesis and Marvel's Avengers and whatever other trash they released recently that flopped.
That's a very movie business mindset, where it's like, for example, in the movie business, you're trying to hit your $1 billion box office because that pays for all your other films, is the idea, right? That's a very movie mindset, where it's like, hey, we released FF16 because we have to pay for all these other projects, including, Marvel's Avengers, but the reason why we make this blockbuster game is so that we can pay for Octopath Traveler 2. Because Octopath Traveler 2 is not a blockbuster.
It's not a blockbuster, but
it's not.
I don't know if that game. I don't know how much they spent on it. I don't know if that game made money or not. I know it didn't do as well as the first game, or didn't sell as well as the first game. But I don't know if that game made money or lost money. I can't think it lost that much if it did lose money.
The point is though that your big blockbuster pays for your other projects.
Yeah,
that's the logic. So like Final Fantasy 16 pays for all the other stuff. It pays for Octopath Traveler, Symbiogenesis. It pays for all the small projects that you get to tell your devs, hey, like, here's your small project you can work on. FF16 is going to help fund it. We're going to, all the profits we get from that's going to fund that.
Oh, and let's also not forget Babylon's Fall, of course. Babylon's flop.
But I don't think it's, the point, you guys are missing the point. The point is, Octopath Traveler 2 is not a blockbuster. FF16 is. Of course not. FF16 pays for the smaller projects. That's the point.
And FF7 Rebirth is going to be a huge blockbuster.
And that's going to be a blockbuster
next year.
It pays for the other projects. It pays for them. It pays it pays for the small projects. It pays for the indie projects. It pays for the other stuff. It pays for everything. That's the point. So Marvel's Avengers was supposed to be the blockbuster. Just to be clear, that was supposed to be a blockbuster. Like, let's just throw out the sugarcoating on that.
And it flopped hard.
Fucked the entire library for Square. Babylon's Fall, I'm not so sure was ever supposed to be a blockbuster, but obviously that fucked it up too. But like, Marvel's Avengers fucked them over. That's the reason why they sold it. That's the reason why they got it out the window. Is because like this fucked the library.
Oh, they lost so much. They lost so much money.
They lost
Marvel's Avengers.
So much money that
I think it sold. I think it probably sold okay at launch. I think a lot of people actually did buy it, but it didn't have the, like, they wanted like live service longevity, and they put way more money into it than they got from like the initial sales.
It was supposed to be a blockbuster. I mean, they advertised the crap out of it. It was supposed to be set up as this like big live service. Everybody's supposed to play. It flopped, and that screwed up the library. They were like, wait a minute, this was supposed to pay for not just like that was supposed to pay for other potential Marvel projects, I imagine. So like they started with Marvel's Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy was already in the pipeline, so they obviously just kept that going. But like Square was probably thinking, hey, we can make like a big franchise out of this. This is, if Marvel's Avengers hits big, we can make like a whole franchise out of this. So we're going to use this blockbuster pay for Guardians of the Galaxy and all the other stuff. Because Guardians of the Galaxy, that game was not supposed to be a blockbuster, I don't think. I mean, they positioned it to be a big game, but that's not like FF16 blockbuster. So that's why they got rid of the Marvel's license. They're like, okay, well, this fucked up the library. So that's it. It's done. We screwed up the library.
They dropped it like it's hot on that
they
one.
Just like, okay, nope. We're done. Even though Guardians was over here like, hey, we're actually pretty good. like they're like, nope.
As you said, they were expecting Avengers to like make a big profit, and as you said, probably pay for multiple additional projects. And not only did it not pay for itself, they lost a ton of money on that game. Like,
that's a movie mindset to me. Movies do the same thing. They're like, hey, our big $1 billion project pays for everything else that's a smaller project. And so that's this. It's not like the best way to say it, but your blockbuster game pays for your artsy games. It pays for your indie games. It pays for the artsy, like really specific indie titles that are like the big passion projects that somebody's like super interested in, but very niche. It pays for that stuff. Marvel's Avengers did not pay for that. So Square said, remember Final Fantasy? And they're throwing it in the closet. They're like throwing all the Marvel stuff in the closet, kicking in there with a broom, just knocking it in there. They're like, remember Final Fantasy?
And this is Marvel? One thing that like, and I'm going to this because Ghost and I were talking about all this stuff last night.
Yeah, sure.
Nintendo does this incredible. Apparently, the director Aonuma for Zelda said the break even for, I don't remember if it was Breath or Tears. I think it was Tears. Was 2 million sold.
That's really small for a break. Even. That's crazy.
So they make a shit ton of money on Zelda. Yeah.
They optimized...
It was Breath. Okay, it was Breath, not Tears. But either way, that game sold.
Point is, they optimized the project to the point where they made it so they weren't necessarily hedging all their bets as a blockbuster. They're like, okay, it's Zelda. Frankly, Zelda should be kind of in that blockbuster range. Mario is. Like, anytime there's a Mario project, somebody at Nintendo said, okay, We have like 5 small projects we need to fund. How do we get those funded? Mario Wonder. Mario Wonder comes out, pays for everything. Pokemon pays for everything.
I think, well, Pokemon
might be separate, but the point is, like, when Pokemon comes out, all the small side Pokemons are now paid for.
Well, yeah, you're probably right, but like the thing with Pokemon is it's not just Nintendo. There's like Pokemon Company and like all this other like crap going on with them. It's like not like Nintendo takes everything for Pokemon.
No, true. You're right. But when a mainline Pokemon comes out, all those little side Pokemons like Detective Pikachu, Pokemon Snap, that's like, you could just say that mainline game paid for all of it.
Yeah.
Mainline game paid for all that shit. It just paid for everything. That mainline game making 20 plus billions of dollars, whatever the amount is actually in reality. They're selling millions of copies of the game, making like $1 billion, whatever.
But anyways, the point is, it just seems like Nintendo knows how to like optimize and like make an amazing game that sells incredibly well and not spend like that much money on it, whereas Square just like spends so much money on their big projects, like so they have to sell like 5-6 million to even like break even, which is like, geez.
That's so bad. Nintendo's got the right idea. You assume the worst. They assumed the worst. That 2 million copies seems like the worst case scenario for Breath of the Wild to me, even though like we weren't sure exactly what was going to happen. That seems like, okay, this is the worst case scenario, 2 million. Okay, let's make that the break even. Let's just assume our spend is going to be, if we sell 2 million, we break even. Like, that's a very conservative kind of mindset of like, okay, we're just going to assume the worst could happen. Square probably took the exact opposite approach with FF16. They'd be like, well, we're going to spend a shitload of cash and because we know people are going to buy it, and our break even's going to be like 7 billion copies or whatever it was. I'm just like, man, you're really hedging your bets on that. That sounds like a very Marvel's Avenger kind of thought process.
Yeah.
They were thinking, oh yeah, let's just make that break even super high and spend an insane amount of money. And you're just like, Square, you shouldn't be assuming these things like that. You need to optimize your team and your spend. So, and it's crazy to me because Breath of the Wild, for all the cracks we give it, that does not look like a 2 million copies is break even kind of game. To me, when I look at it, that is not what that looks like. So, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Blank check for FF16, basically.
Gave Yoshi basically whatever he wanted. You can't do that. I mean, man, Square, you can't tell somebody do whatever the hell you want and we'll pay for it, because they're gonna do whatever the hell they want and they're gonna go crazy. You gotta have some, like, tug on the leash of that kind of idea. Anyway, Marvel's Avengers, $4. Yep. Think about it. Honestly, I still don't even know. $4 is so cheap.
I just don't care. I'm not gonna buy it, but
I
can see the appeal of $4 for sure. It's like, well, it's $4.
I can see somebody buying it for $4. I mean, like, I'd buy it for $4 at this point. It's like, it's $4. Like, I could go buy a coffee for $5, or I could get this for like 6 to 8 hours and just fuck around. Like, that's like not a big deal to me, at least. Like, $4, sure. Okay. There's another thing on top of this that we'll add, because I put them all my ducks in a row on this. Evil Dead game also. This game came out, oh god, I want to say like over a year ago. I don't even remember the style of game, to be clear, but this game came out. I think they were expecting it to be a little bit bigger. The whole purpose of this is that they're no longer going to be working on new content for the game, so that's it for this game. This was a live service game, to be clear, I think. So they're just stopping, but they're going to keep the servers up, which is nice. That's nice. Keep the servers up for a bit. And they said they'll address major issues, which is also good. You've got to fix the big bugs, so I appreciated that. I know neither of us have played this game or anything, but I saw this tweet, popped up on my radar earlier this week. I've heard some people talk about this game. I know, like, I do know I've seen streamers play this.
This is a asymmetric survival horror game shooter. It released May 13th, 2022.
Oh, that's been out for quite a bit then.
I mean, a year, a year, almost a year and a half.
Yeah,
so
decent runway. Okay, so it's been out for a year and a half, and they're just stopping now. I actually think that's perfectly reasonable. I think that's perfectly reasonable. A year and a half's worth of content is perfectly reasonable for a game. So, I mean, obviously, like at this point, I'm sure this game has an extremely small community. So, I just wanted to add it to the list because I saw it this week, and it really did pop up on my feed with like 5 million views, which was kind of crazy. So anyway, but servers will still be up, which is nice.
Yep.